Let me give you an update on the SNAP benefits for those of you who are worried about whether or not you're going to be getting your money for your food supplement this month. So you'll be happy to know that the Trump administration actually has agreed. So I know people had said, well, are they going to appeal to the next level and they're not going to do it? Actually, they've said it. They will do it and they're going to give out the money. I'm going to give you some more details as to the Judge McConnell. Again, this were two judges actually that had before them and a lawsuit filed on behalf of various different states and nonprofit organizations and people representing the interests of regular folks. It was in Massachusetts and it was also in Rhode Island. So they went to those judges. It was Indira Tarawanani, who's a Barack Obama appointee, and Chief Judge John McConnell in Rhode Island. Both were considering this case. So they're going to give the money. So if you're worried, if you're on SNAP, rest assured your money's coming. So, but I do want to let you know some details. This is very important that you need to listen to. And before I tell you what's the detail, it's important to listen to. Really quick sidebar. I've seen a lot of creators on YouTube and social media kind of like dumb down and punch down on folks who are on SNAP benefits and say, well, they're getting their nails done and all stuff, which is a stupid, dumb stereotype from the bygone era of the Reagan, of the welfare queen, and all this other stuff is BS. And it's so funny. They're punching down on the people who, a lot of them are working. 70% of people are on SNAP. So don't listen to the Republicans when they say people need to work. People are working and they're not earning a living. It's the corporations that you are subsidizing because they don't pay their workers a living wage. Like Amazon, for example, a good chunk of Walmart and Amazon employees are on SNAP benefits. So our government dollars are helping the people who work for Walmart and SNAP and Walmart and Amazon eat because Walmart and Amazon is not paying them a living wage. So we're helping those big companies. And you're punching down on the people versus punching up on the folks who are not giving them a living wage so they don't have to be on SNAP. So let's start there. And that whole welfare thing, there's a weird misconception to believe that people of color or black people are on welfare. I saw a creator who said, I'm not going to put it here, and I don't know the validity of this, so I don't want to like really put too much credence into it, but he said that he saw people who are not black say that they were surprised the first time realizing that they are on SNAP. They thought SNAP was something that black people get, which is bizarre. But then when I saw Senator Tommy Tuberville go in front of a press and say that there are a lot of black men waiting for their SNAP benefits, it's like, sir, 12%. Your freaking state is number 12 out of 50 of SNAP beneficiaries. Like the people in your state, 785,000 people in your state get SNAP. A good chunk of them are not black. Like who the hell are you talking to? And also he's up for re-election in 2026. So if you were in SNAP benefits, you were in the 785,000 people. This guy does not even recognize that you need that. And he seems to be unaware that you guys are in benefits and you guys rely on that. So that's something to think about. But anyway, I digress. I go back to let's talk about why they're going to give it to you. Here's the thing. The government, Trump administration, argue with a straight face that we don't know how to distribute the money because the money in the reserves is just $3 billion and that's not enough. So the argument was like, we can't distribute this because there's not enough money. And how do we divide up partial money that we have available? And there's a reserve funds called the contingency. How do we divide them up into 50 different states? It's going to be so cumbersome. It's so hard. We don't know how to do it. So we want to do it. Donald Trump on Truth Social this past Friday said the following: our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available. And now two courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do because Judge Tarawani, she didn't immediately say pay it. She wanted to wait till Monday, tomorrow, for them to figure out a plan. And Donald Trump says, I do not want Americans to go hungry just because radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Dude, you're president. You've already said this. We already caught him before Barack Obama, when it was Barack Obama's office. He said if there's a shutdown, it's the responsibility of the government, of the president.
Here, the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States.
So you said that. So now you're saying that it's Democrats' job to open the government while Republicans control the Senate, Republicans control the House, and arguably some people would say Republicans control the Supreme Court. So you control all three branches of government. You've already said it's up to the president's last buck. Why are you saying reopen the government and blaming The Democrats. Crazy, right? But anyway, he says he's instructed his lawyers to ask the court to clarify how can we legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. So this is Donald Trump saying he wants to do it as soon as possible. And he says even if we get immediate guidance, it unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. So the judge was like, all right, I got you. Here's what Judge McConnell said, I think Saturday. Yeah, he said this on Saturday. First of all, he was like, thank you, President President Trump. And he quoted where Donald Trump said he doesn't want Americans to go hungry. And he said it'll be my honor to provide funding. So the judge was like, all right, sure, okay. Y'all say y'all don't know what to do. All right, but let's start with this. So first he reminds the government that Congress appropriated $122 billion for SNAP. But a part of the appropriation, it put $3 billion, it says, to remain available through September 2026, which is next year, for reserves in case, that's the contingency stuff you say, in case there's a problem. It says it becomes necessary, such as something happens, there's a budget shortfall, or the government isn't open. And he says because of lack of appropriation for the fiscal year, because what's going on with the budget shutdown and the stalemate, now the time is available. And the judge says there's no question that congressionally approved funds must be used now because of the shutdown. And the law requires it. Now here's the thing which is interesting. He said, y'all want to know whether or not how you can do it? Funny, because in 2019, when you were president, your USDA actually sent out information to all of the people when it was a shutdown during the Trump administration and that they wanted to play SNAP benefits back then, and they sent out rules on how to use their discretionary funds. So he's like, y'all talking about y'all don't know how to do it, but you did it last time and it was your USDA that came with the plan. So total bullshit. And when he says there's not enough money, the judge was like, all right, well, you guys have a separate supplementary fund. He says the Agriculture Adjustment Act Amendment of 1935, according to that act, that the SNAP funds, there's like a supplemental fund, has $23 billion in it as of October 8th, 2025. So he says you could add that money plus the $3 billion and pay full. What's the issue? But if y'all don't want to use it, pay partial. Pay partial. And then he says, I want a plan by Monday. They've done it before. So what does this tell you? The messaging. We talked about the Democrat messaging not being strong enough. I had this someone, they've been sharing this meme that someone created. I shared it. I said it was pretty simple. It says the Republicans won't feed you until the Democrats let them take away your health care. And someone said it's too complicated. When I showed it to my husband, he didn't get it. So what essentially saying is that the reason why the government's closed because the Democrats want the Republicans to extend the Obamacare health subsidies, and they don't want to do that. So that's the not want to give you health care. They don't want to do that. So they want the government, they want a continuing resolution, a short-term resolution without having to actually add that part in. And the Democrats are like, no, we have to stand for something. No, we're not doing that. We want those healthcare subsidies extended first before we do this anything. And they're like, no, we don't want to allow you to extend those healthcare subsidies. Now, when came down the SNAP benefits, they've given money to the troops. They've given money to wherever they want to find supplemented money to feed the groups that they want to. When it came to food, they're like, we're not going to help you get the food because here's the things. They believe that Trump really believes that the majority of people on SNAP benefits are poor blacks or poor whites, poor people of color, Democrats. He does believe that. I have did videos before, but I really do think he does believe that. And a lot of his people, Tuberville, think that. Because they think that, they don't realize it's their own constituents that they're hurting. So because they believe that, they're just like, well, we'll let them suffer, those blue people of color, and then thus their constituent groups, they're being hurt. So we're not going to help their constituents and give them food and let them suffer. And maybe now that when they suffer, they'll actually come and just go ahead and sign this continuing resolution to open up the government while still not letting them have the subsidies. So that's the thing. It's like, we don't want you to have the subsidies. And we're going to force you to open up the government without giving you the subsidies by letting your people starve. But here's the thing is that a lot of people learning that they're actually, a good chunk of the people in SNAP benefits are in red states because red states just historically just may earn less money. They're a little bit poorer. And blue states are more wealthy, and because they're wealthy, they don't qualify for SNAP benefits. So the people that are being hurt are actually a lot of MAGA voters or people who are technically red, because there are a lot of purple districts and there are a lot of blue dots in those red states. That's what we have. As the world turns. Anyway, each one teach one. Share this video so you can know, so you can share the news with other people. But they should be getting their benefits soon. JJ Legal, each one teach one.